My husband Robert had invested quite well in the New York Central Railroad, so we were able to travel a lot in Europe. And when we were at the Crystal Palace exhibition in London, we met Adolf Strauch. Now, Adolf had already had extensive training in the gardens of Vienna, Austria, and in Paris. And when we spoke with him at length, we were so impressed. We said, if you ever come to the United States, please visit us in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he did just that. He planned only a short stopover, but we have just bought land in Mount Storm, and we have asked him to design the landscaping. So we invited him to come and really sort of beautify what was already planned. The original plans called for sort of a grid, and we wanted something more open, which is exactly what Adolf gave us. There is a central monument for a family or an organization and burials around it. So as you go through the cemetery today, you will notice very open vistas reminiscent of really a rural countryside. And as you go around the curves, you will have new views each time, something quite picturesque. So, welcome to the park that's actually a cemetery. And as you go through, keep in mind that Adolf Strauch designed it. But my husband and I invited him here so you can thank us as well.
Why, my goodness, you have all of this beautiful land. Could you not dedicate some of it for those soldiers who lost their lives? Well, they agreed, and the public applauded them. They thought it was wonderful. So I believe that we're going to have a few cannons there and maybe some monuments, but this area right here in particular will be dedicated to the Civil War soldiers. And maybe later today or some other time when you're here, you'll be able to go and visit that area. After all, what are my efforts in comparison to the heartbreak and the sorrow that affected the women, the children, the wives, the mothers, the sisters of even the humblest private who lost his life in defense of the Union.
They say that I'm the richest man between New York and San Francisco. I do know that if you took the gross national product of the United States of America, divided it into 440 pieces, one of those would be mine. Admit it. You expected someone taller. I came here to Cincinnati when it was in its infancy. I was 20 years old. Ohio had been a state for 1 year. This is 1804. I spent my meager pocket of silver on a law education from Jacob Burnet Woods fame. And 6 months later, I set up my law practice. 6 months. You could do that back then. This was the Wild West. There was no one to say no to anything. I caught my first break defending a horse thief. Turns out the scrub didn't have the cash with which to pay my legal fees, but he did have 2 copper stills sitting down in a drinking establishment on 2nd Street. So what could I do? I hitched up my wagon and went to collect my legal fee. Fortunately, the proprietor down there had his eye on those stills too, and he wanted to trade me for 33 acres of undeveloped land. Today those acres comprise most of 6th and 7th Street west of Vine. This is all a long way of saying I made a profit.
This is the first time that I've done Henry Probosco. I've done, the last 2 times I portrayed Julius Dexter, which you've probably recognized the Dexter Mausoleum on the back side of the lake over there, which looks like a French church with the Gothic architecture. So everyone comes out and likes to take a look at that a lot. So this is the first year for me doing this character.
It was interesting. She was a teacher. She was raised on a farm in Kentucky, but she had kind of bigger aspirations, and so she went to teachers college, which once again was in and of itself not common for women of that time period. And instead of being comfortable just going back to the farm where she was raised, or the small town, she was raised in Augusta, Kentucky, she decided she wanted to come to the big city. And Cincinnati at that time had about 160,000 people, so much larger than a rural area like Augusta. And she worked in the Mount Adams Public School. but couldn't continue teaching. That was a revelation to me because married women couldn't do that. It was just a job for single women at that time. So she helped support her husband in the publishing business, and because she was a teacher and they published school books, she was able to make a lot of contributions. So the McGuffey Readers were part of that. That was her involvement in publishing.